I will say the first couple chapters might be a little heavy. It's interest rates, 401ks.
All the sexy stuff.
Oh yeah, come on, man. Going on my own, if I'm a 22-year-old coming out of college, what do I need to know? And there's not a lot of formal education, I should say, when we're going through school about personal finance. We learn about history, we might learn about sociology and math, but just not a lot about personal finance. And that really comes alive when people have to start making real world decisions, whether it be about their insurance, whether it be about their investments. They need help. They need people. A lot of people need a lot of help. I appreciate you reading, man. It was hell yeah.
I even took notes, like we'll get into it in a second.
All right. Nice. It was rough. Like, it was a learning process. First time writing a book, like, and eventually I got it down to, I felt pretty good. When if I read the Wall Street Journal, if they have errors, I'm like, I don't feel so bad about a couple here and there.
This is the first time you and I've met. I really don't know much about you. Like, I don't know if you're open to sharing just like more about you, your story. I know we'll talk about like MBA and whatnot as well.
I guess I went and did my undergrad at Ball State and graduated with a degree in finance. I've always really had an interest for money. Always been a saver. I can remember back when I was 7 years old and I had my first communion, and I saved up all the money that I got from it, and I bought my first TV for my bedroom at like 7 or 8 years old. And I think that was like my first kind of real experience of like money consciousness, of saving for something. Ran my own office for 5 years and was successful, but realized I really wanted to get back into some corporate, we call it Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, kind of working with some of those companies. So I decided to go back and get my MBA.
What were some of the things that you meant MBA? I did an MBA, now the consulting life. What does that look like for people that might be interested in that?
Yeah, so the MBA was probably one of the most favorite experiences I've had in my life. My favorite part about it was getting to meet people from all over the world. So I got pretty tight with these 5 guys from India. Got to know people from, everywhere. It was like China. One of the guys that is working with the firm that I'm at now, he's from Brazil, and he's become a really, really good friend, him and his wife. And that was definitely my favorite part about the whole experience. The MBA is, you start to kind of put things together. I think it's great for people that are, want to make a career move, whether it be to kind of get to that next step. Maybe you're a manager, move to director, or within a company, or just a total different industry. Obviously, I was changing from kind of insurance, financial services to consulting is what I ended up in, what I wanted to be in. But it's a great way to make that move, build a network, get to know people, learn a handful of things along the way. And I really enjoyed it. Yeah, now I work for a large consulting firm that does a lot of M&A, or mergers and acquisitions transactions. And so a lot of what we do is companies that are looking to either buy another company or sell part of their company. We could do a whole handful of things. It might be kind of how they're going to incorporate together. It could be a valuation on what we think they should purchase or sell. There's also some process improvement. So if they feel like, hey, we think that, our operations could get better, how do we do that? So that's a lot of, just from kind of the, I guess, there's a lot of terminology, high level.
Yeah, corporate speak. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. High level view of kind of what we do. That's it. But one thing I do want to hit on before I even got into the consulting, because COVID had pushed kind of our start date back. It was supposed to be the summer, ended up being a couple of weeks back. But as I was able to do some personal things, one of them was back in undergrad, I did a year of Italian, and it's something I kind of bucket list thing for me. And over the past year, I've done a lot of studying. I little plug for italki.com. I use.
Yo, what is this?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a website that you can speak with native people from the country. So there's these two guys in Italy that I speak with, and in Italian, and it's a really good way to kind of learn a language. So it's really like the iPhone. It's just italki.com. And it's pretty inexpensive. Like a tutor in the States might go for $40-50 an hour, and you can get one for $7 to $10 an hour. So awesome way to learn a language, and got to do a lot of that. And I can say I would feel comfortable like in Italy having some basic conversations.
Very nice. From a mergers and acquisition standpoint, what's something interesting about that? Like, what's something intriguing to you that maybe we don't know about?
I mean, I think one is how companies are valued. So whether it be, like I said, whether somebody's buying something, another company, how they're being valued. And so a big part of valuation is they pretty much come up with a number, or as it's known, EBITDA, which is earnings before interest, depreciation, tax, depreciation, amortization, very business term. But then it's pretty much multiplied by whether it be 5, 10, 20 to kind of come up with this value for the firm. But once you kind of get that very general number, you really have to start digging into like, well, why? And you start to go through the financial statements. So that, I find that interesting. If you like Excel work and you like kind of digging into that stuff, you would enjoy this space for sure. I also think it's amazing the exposure that you get. You're talking to CEOs, CFOs from billion-dollar corporations on a daily basis, and I don't think you'd have that exposure in too many industries being, I'll call a mid-level employee type of thing. So that's pretty awesome about it.
Cool. All right. Since it's relevant now and you're talking about valuation, GameStop, what is the appropriate valuation for GameStop?
I think back where it was about 2 months ago, with turning a profit. I don't know in how long, but yeah, it's been fun to watch that roller coaster ride. I mean, I checked today, I think it was like at 62 or something a share, obviously at the height about 420.
Yeah.
So it's been fun to watch that and just see, everyday people kind of outgun the big guns, the hedge funds, and make them lose money. I don't know. It's fun to watch. I try to stay out of it, but.
Do you really think that's the case though? Like retail versus institutions, or it was more like retail might have been like a scapegoat and it's still like institution versus institutions?
Wow. That sounds a little conspiracy to me, but I don't.
Let me put them on.
That's a great question. I don't know. Could be. I mean, because obviously institutions normally, let's be honest, they're the ones running the markets because they have all. But I mean, it depends. I mean, if you get enough little guys, you get 1 million little guys, you can David and Goliath, something going on there.
No, it's been fun. Let's get into the good stuff. All right. So here,
sounds good.
Plug the book real quick. What was the process of writing? Why did you decide, hey, I'm going to write a book?
So I think two things contributed to that. The first one was, again, that kind of passion that I've always had for finance while I was in my role at State Farm. Countless of people, whether it be people in their 20s, whether it be people in their 50s, I came to realize just kind of there's no formal education, and there's not a lot of formal education, I should say, when we're going through school about personal finance. We learn about history, we might learn about sociology and math, but just not a lot about personal finance. And that really comes alive when people have to start making real world decisions, whether it be about their insurance, whether it be about their investments. They need help. They need people. A lot of people need a lot of help. And that really came to fruition while I was at State Farm. And I lucky enough, I was able to help a lot of my friends and family through that. So that was one piece of it. The second piece of it was I had time. So because of COVID, I guess COVID, no part of COVID's a blessing, but at the same time, I was able to, do something that was just kind of like self-development. And yeah, so the way I kind of thought through the book was, okay, if I'm a 18-year-old, if I'm a 20, if I'm an 18-year-old going on my own, if I'm a 22-year-old coming out of college, what do I need to know? And so I kind of tried to write it as a journey from that point. So it kind of starts with just some basic background about budgeting, and then there's a little bit about networking, which is probably not so much finance related, but I think it's relevant for people leaving college. Learned a lot about it in my MBA. And then it kind of goes into interest rates and does get a little, I will say the first couple chapters might be a little heavy. It's interest rates, 401ks.
All the sexy stuff.
Oh yeah, come on, man. But at the same time, interest rates are like the basis of finance. Like you need to know what that is because it affects so many things in your life, whether it's a car loan, mortgages, credit card, it's unreal. And then dives into probably the second most important thing is your credit score and how that affects all aspects of your life as well. And from there, it just kind of rolled into different things that I've learned over time, whether it be my own experiences or, friends and family.
For sure. The three big things like I wanted to hit, I don't know if you have the book in front of you or if we can like talk through some of these things from someone who's written the book, lived through it, looked at the numbers, debt, interest, and taxes. So for a lot of like my target audience, I feel like, most of us are fresh out of college, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. So we're still paying off debt, credit cards, student loan, car loans. No, we're not even worried about houses just yet. Mortgage. I know that's kind of towards the end of the book. And then secondly, the investment piece, right? And I know you hit on that as well. Like, what does it mean to max out a 401k, opening up an IRA, mutual funds, ETFs, stocks? But step one, paying down debt, thoughts on that, math behind that.
I will say kind of the way I wrote the book was not necessarily, and I hope you got this out of it, but it wasn't to necessarily say, do it this way. Mm-hmm. Kind of like, here are a couple options that either I've done or I've seen work. Here are the facts about them. Now, make your own decision what fits your lifestyle. And I tried to write the book that way. I hope it came off that way. But I would just say kind of in general, paying off debt, you want to look at what your interest rate is on whatever debt you have. So if you have a loan of $10,000 and you had a credit card bill of $10,000, if the credit card bill is most likely going to be closer to 14 to 20% interest, that's per year, whereas the loan might only be 4 to 7%. And so what you'd want to do in that case is you definitely want to pay off the credit card as fast as possible before probably you could really let the loan accrue some interest and still be saving money by paying down the credit card faster because it has the higher interest rate.
By no means did I get that feeling from this book, like, hey, you're doing it wrong, dummy. Like you got to do it this way. When it comes to debt, like I've been there, it's very emotional. It is tough. It's like a burden. And, this 50K, whatever student loan wipe, it's not happening, like.
No, I don't think so either.
So let's be realistic. I like your approach. Like, hey, math wise, numbers wise, it makes sense. Tackle the higher interest rate. And I know like the Dave Ramsey fans of the world, like they'll probably say, hit the smaller one first and then it'll snowball because you've built that like confidence.
In my opinion, if that credit card is, 19%, like it's, while you're missing out on compounding interest in your 401k and that kind of thing, like I gotta admit, like not having debt is way less stressful than saying like, okay, maybe I won't have as much money in 30 years, right? Like, and I think what happens is the less financial stress you have, the more freedom it does to give you just like confidence. You kind of said that, right? Pay down the little one, as Dave Ramsey, like just gives you confidence about your finances.
So since we're
Yeah.
on this topic already, from your perspective, and I know it's different for people in different tax brackets, expected retirement, yeah, just income level,
Yeah.
when does it make more sense? I don't know if you've looked at the math before. When does it make more sense to go for a Roth versus traditional either IRA or 401k if your company allows that?
You know, there are a bunch of different opinions out there. It could say it's always better. I think for sure, if you know, are in a tax bracket low one under, you know, if you're under 20% tax bracket, it makes sense because then you're just, if you are in a higher one down the road. I think the hard part is we don't know where tax brackets will be in 30 or 40 years. And so I would probably lean towards it doesn't necessarily matter what tax bracket you're in. I mean, maybe if you're in the, excuse me, like, you know, 35 or 39, like the highest, well, I think it might be 37, but I'm sure it'll go back up to 39 here shortly.
How dare you?
I think for anybody though, starting off, I mean, let's be honest, my target audience for the book is people in their 20s and early 30s.
Yeah.
You know, your target audience for your group is kind of same group, maybe 20s, early 30s. And so I would say Roth all day.
So this being target audience about, you know, early 20s out of college, what kind of advice, I know it lays it out in the book, but what kind of advice do you have for people like us from maybe even your own personal experience?
I think kind of creating some sort of budget is super, super important.
It's not fun, Dom.
Dude, it sucks. I know. I watched your video. I watched your other video on budgeting, man. I think, and when I mean budgeting, I don't necessarily mean you have to budget every dollar. Like I'm a money guy, and really what I try to do is, okay, so obviously you've got your rent. You may have like a couple things like your cell phone or I don't even know, like, you know, just little things here and there. But then it's like down to your credit card. And so I think like for me, it was always, okay, my credit card should be within this $200 range every month, right? So like, as long as I was in that range, I don't really care what I spent the money on. I'm like, I'm good, right? I was in my quote unquote budget. I will say, always plan for a one-off. There's always like $100 or $200 that you're just like, well, no, next month it'll be better because like I won't have that one-off. You will. It'll be a doctor bill. It'll be, you know, insurance. It'll be new tires on your car. There's always that one-off every single month. So just plan for that. The other thing that I think works really well is when you're saving, right? So when you start to save, whether it be, 401k, whether it be just putting money in a savings plan, like make them recurring payments. So, you know, if you've got your paycheck, if your paycheck is, you know, if it's $2,000, you know, you can say, okay, I need, I'm going to auto deduct $50 out of every paycheck. I'm going to let the bank do it, and it's going to go into my savings. And it's like a bill almost, right? You've probably heard, you know, use it like a bill kind of thing. My 401k, it's going to be auto deducted. And so that way you can feel once you have an auto deduction for your retirement, once you have an auto deduction for a savings account, like the rest of it, go have fun.
With your money, what are some fun things that you like to spend your money on, Dom?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty frugal, but definitely vacations. My fiance and I have like 6 weddings on the back half of this year. And so that's going to take up a lot of that free money. Travel, probably whiskey and wine. I mean, those are probably the 2 things I spend the most of my free money on. And then probably just like little things here. They're buying myself some shoes, a new shirt.
Nice.
Nothing too wild. At least I don't think so.
Simple man. Okay, we talked about death, taxes, like the only things that we can be sure of. So, hey, go check out Dom's book, Personal Finance, Life Decisions After College. We'll put the link in the bio too. Hit it up. I'll try to get some affiliate payouts or something. Last words.
Have a plan. You know, you kind of mentioned it. Have a plan, stick to it, whatever that is. There's a lot of different styles. If you read my book, you'll learn a bunch of different styles that you can implement in different areas. Listen to Isaiah's YouTube. A lot of great stuff. I've watched a bunch of them. So stick to those two things and you'll be all right.
Dom's the one that he keeps giving me the thumbs down every time I post a new one. Do you have any other book recommendations or podcasts for us to listen to?
The one podcast I love, and it's probably more business than like direct money, but it's like How I Built This by Guy Raz. Guy Raz. That is probably my favorite because it just talks about entrepreneurs growing, but it does talk about money as well and just kind of hard work. I love that podcast. I really do. For sure. For sure.
Thank you for your time. Hope to have you back on.
For sure.
Check out the book.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you, Isaiah.
Woohoo! Yes, we got it.